So I think we can go ahead. Let's start.
Right about now, the Funk Soul Brother. Check it out now, the Funk Soul Brother. Right about now, the Funk Soul Brother. Check it out now, the Funk Soul Brother. Right about now, the Funk Soul Brother. Check it out now.
Hi, Sabrine.
Hi everyone. Hi Eyal, hi Gilles, hi attendees. How are you?
Don't be shy, Sabrine. It's cool.
No, that's fine.
Okay, so today it's very nice because we are welcoming a very nice guy. We work with him at INSEAD very often. This person is Eyal Lavin. Hello, Eyal. How are you doing?
Hi, everyone.
You're fine? Oh, there is something weird on the WebEx. I don't see your face. What's going on, Sabrine? Why is it me I see? For some reason I see myself. Pointless. Okay, anyway. Okay. So let me introduce you to Eyal Lavin. So Eyal is an INSEAD alumnus. You made an MBA in 2003-2004, and you are right now partner at Chausson Finance in Paris. Chausson Finance is one of the most well-known fundraising company in Paris right now. Prior to this position, you've been working quite a lot of time at Dell in sales and business development. Then you moved to Criteo as Senior Director of the Sales Operation, and then you became CFO at Alchemix. Alchemix is a very promising big data startup in France, and you finally started to work at Chausson Finance last year. Am I right? Have I made a mistake? Am I completely wrong? Can you confirm me what I've just said?
You're quite right.
Okay. Okay, so tell me how wrong I was, please.
It's better than usual, so you're getting better at representing me. It's cool. I started my career in Israel. I'm Israeli, and now I'm Israeli and French. Started in KPMG as an accountant. Really hated it because it's just looking at what other people do. Sorry for all the accountants out there. Moved to startups. I was a finance director at a startup in Israel. We raised 37 million from a few quite nice VCs, including Sequoia and Intel Capital and Soros. Grew the company to 100 people. Then I left for INSEAD. After INSEAD, I worked for 8.5 years at Dell, sales operations strategy. After that, I worked at Criteo. I was head of sales operations. There were no sales operations before I came there. So we started as a team of 2 people, myself and someone who became one of my team leaders. When I left after the IPO, we were 15 people over 4 continents. I left to be the CFO of Alchemix, which I helped to raise a Series A, growing the company from 8 people when I met them to 15 when I joined them to 50 people when I left. And for the past year and a half, I'm here at Chausson Finance as a partner. My job is to help startups to raise funds, to give them some good advice along the way if possible, about how to grow their teams, how to find talent, some strategy about product, etc. So basically, startup world here to know about everything.
Okay, so I guess that all the experience you had gives you lots of experience to raise funds, and obviously you manage quite a lot of people, and you hired quite a lot of people. So I think today is what you want to talk about.
Yes. So I decided to take the route less trodden by, not talk about my main job today, which is raising funds. I can do that if there are not enough questions, with pleasure. And to talk about the difficulties of finding, hiring and retaining talent in a fast-growing startup environment. Usually it's startups with some relation also to large teams where you also have to hire talent like any place else.
Okay, so I think that we can work in different ways. We can ask you questions, or you can talk yourself and go in the direction you want. Basically, it's up to you. So maybe you can, what do you want? Maybe you can start and we ask you questions, and that's the way it's going to be. Is it okay for you?
Sure. Let me start. I prepared a few things, not too many, this year.
Okay. Perfect.
So basically, for me, talent has three basic parts. First is how to find the right people for your organization. The second part is how to make sure that they actually decide to choose you, because when you look at good talent, the issue is always making sure that the talent chooses you and not someone else. And the last thing is about, and the most important thing is about retaining the talent. Okay, so it took you 2 months to define the job description, another 2 months to go through the interviews, you waited 2 months for the person to come. Now you want them to stay for 2-3 years. That's actually the long and important part of making sure that people stay. So this is kind of how I see it. And it actually, there are some parts which are quite closely related together between the three parts of identifying, hiring, and retaining, which relates to the company culture and the type of people. What I found out over the years, especially in startup environments, or any fast-growing environment, is that you have to make sure that the people that you hire have a similar mindset. Now, they can come with very different backgrounds in terms of education, in terms of experience, in terms of gender, obviously. They can come with different points of view of life. They have to have this kind of communality between them that would make sure that the interaction works well. So this is something that I always bear in mind when I'm looking for talent. And it doesn't matter whether how you source your talent. Sourcing talent is a separate discussion, whether you do it through headhunters, whether you do it online, etc. At some point, you source talent. The best way that I found historically to source talent is actually through the network of employees. A lot of team members would do it even for free, not even for money, even though many companies are offering a bonus for recruiting a friend. The reason is that if you create an environment in your company or in your team, if it's a large company, where it's fun to work there and people enjoy coming to the office and interacting with their colleagues, they would want to bring similar-minded people to join the team. And similar-minded people, in my experience, tend to create the best results, because by definition, a team works better when 1 + 1 = 3. So when two people create a better result than they could have created by themselves. And in order to have that happening, you have to have good interactions. Ensuring that people have good communication is everything. So making sure you have a good environment would enable you to have your team members suggest people that they know to join the team. And for me, that's the best part in terms of how to hire, how to find talent. In that sense, I also like to hire only stars. So I really like to hire only people which are really, really good, with a small asterisk over there of making sure you don't hire overqualified people. And I actually have a personal example of a personal failure in that sense. I was working in retail. I was director of sales operations. And retail was really hot at the time. It was just before the IPO. Everyone in France wanted to work there. And I needed to hire someone to do my be a CRM analyst, which is not really a glorified position. And it's quite a menial task. And I got the best young people in France, hiring, just wanting to join that position. And I chose someone who was from two of the top 3 schools in France. Brilliant person. She was an extremely good fit also for the rest of the team, so everything worked, aside from one side. She was really brilliant, and the job was less. So she was really frustrated in her job, and at the end of the day, she left, and today she has a fantastic career. She's in a very top position in a very good startup in France. So obviously a very talented person, which just did not match for the job. So you have to be sure not to overhire in terms of talent. To take on the other direction, when I worked at Alchemix, I was looking to the office, for an office manager. I had also a lot of people who applied to the position of office manager with years of experience in as an office manager in a startup or in a large company or being an assistant. And I had one guy who wanted to join. He had no any sort of certification beyond high school. Even that, I think it was high school equivalency. He played in a rock band, half famous French rock band, as he likes to say, quite modest. And when I met him, he's a really cool guy, and I thought a fit with the team would be fantastic. And he had the skill set to do the thing. So I hired him, and it was one of the best hires I made. He's still in the company, and he's an awesome office manager. So that's, let's say, the other side of the scale. Don't always look at the paper qualification and try to think sometimes outside of the box. There are actually people in the company who were fans of this rock band when they were younger, and having this guy on board for them was amazing. So his fit into the team was instantaneous, and it was a really good match for everyone. Okay.
This is live. This is live.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So this is live situation, and obviously we are well prepared to cope with this type of situation. Oh, miracle! Eyal
Already
is back.
back.
Already back. I'm disappointed. I was about to talk endlessly.
That's exactly the reason why I decided to connect through my phone network and not through the office network.
Okay, so if you want, I can bring you some. Do you want me to bring you a sandwich or something to drink or something? It would make maybe our life easier to all of us. Okay, that's cool. Okay, so please carry on.
Okay. So that's about finding talent. Now, how to bring the talent on board? For me, bringing and retaining talent are also very well connected through this part of working in a team and making sure that the people that you bring on board are aligned to the rest of the team. What we did in Alchemix, which the founders put in place and I just found brilliant, is to ensure that the last step of the hiring process is team fit. So a person would come, they would go through regular interviews, they would go through technical interviews if it's relevant for the job. And at the end of the day, if there were the person that was qualified for the job according to the hiring manager, according to all the people who interviewed them, of course a few interviews, they would tell them, okay, there's one step left before you're given an offer. That is to see that you have a good fit with the team, and the team has a good fit with you. So they were invited for the Thursday evening drinks, sometimes in the company premises, sometimes in a bar close by, where they would interact with the team for as long as they wanted, 1 hour, 3 hours, chatting with people. And the next morning, we would ask the team, okay, what do you think about this candidate? How is the team fit? And some cases people would say, yes, really cool, nice person, would like to work with her or him. And there were 1 or 2 cases where people said that actually the guy was really closed, I didn't talk, he was weird, and that person would not get an offer to join the team. It's as a cold cut as that. And it worked wonders. It was just fantastic because people would come after they actually joined the company, and they would just hit the floor running. They knew already people because they met them before in a social occasion, semi-social occasion. People liked it so much that even after they got an offer and accepted the offer, they would join additional drinks even before they joined. So they knew everyone. They, of course, would chat about the technical stuff as well, especially the R&D team would chat about the tech stuff. So we had people starting to add value from day 3, not after 3 weeks, not after 3 months. In 3 days, people started to add value, and they were, let's say, instantly integrated into the team. It worked so well that when the hiring managers would do the first interviews, they would think in the back of their head, is this a person that would pass team fit? And if a person would not pass team fit, probably they would not bring them to team fit anyway. So it really streamlined the hiring process as well. So it worked extremely well, and it accelerated the ramp up of new people into the team. Which brings me to the third item. Sorry, I'm not at the third item yet. Third item yet is how to retain people, which is kind of related to that. Hiring people. Another anecdote that I wanted to share is about how do you hire talent? Because when a talent is looking for a job, they might get a few job offers. That usually happens with a good talent. Especially these days in R&D teams in Paris, it's crazy. So if you have a star, they'll get a few offers. People don't choose a position according to the best paid position. If you offer something that is fair, that's enough. Giving more money would probably not get you the candidate if he's thinking about 2 or 3 options, unless you offer a ridiculous amount of money. What does help? A, the fact that they will know the team and they think they would enjoy working in it. Okay, I already covered that one. The challenge of the position. Okay, you have to hire a position would be challenging to the individual. I already talked about that, and that's super important. Don't hire something where people would say, okay, I can do it, it's a bit boring. They won't contribute as much as someone else. And you have to make them understand that it works both ways. So I had a case where I had a very good developer who wanted to join a team, and the team lead came to me and said, well, the guy tells me he has a few options, and he's really thinking hard about the 2 companies, our company and another company, and I don't know how to persuade him to join our team. And I told him, don't. The way to not persuade him, well, of course, to persuade him, the way to not persuade the guy is to tell him, look, if we are not your first option, if you are hesitating between the 2 teams, go join the other team. Because we only want people who are extremely excited about joining our team, whether it's because of the team or it's because of the job or obviously because of everything together. If you're not excited about this job and say, this is the one for me, don't come to us, go to the other guys. And surprise, surprise, of course, they joined the team with a decent salary. Retaining talent is all about them enjoying where they are and about compensation. So enjoying where they are, I try to cover a bit. About compensation, let's split it into 2 parts. The first part is about long-term compensation in terms of stock options. Stock options are always a headache for entrepreneurs because they don't know how much they should give. Should they give to everyone? Should they give only to key team members? It really depends. If you are in a classic startup environment, 50% of the team R&D, the rest of mix of sales, marketing, and back office, I would give to everyone. If you are a startup where you have a small key team of development and all the rest is let's say old school operational stuff, 90% of the people, telemarketing or stuff like that, maybe it doesn't make sense to give to everyone. Going back to the case where it's good to give to everyone, what I found that worked well is to give it as an equivalent to 3 months of full pay, including bonus. So if someone's annual pay is 100,000 euros, including his annual bonus at 100%, I would give stock options that are equal to $25,000, 3 months salary, according to the current company valuation, whether it's according to the previous investment round or to an ongoing valuation that you got along with your auditor or accountant. And that's fair because it's compensating people according to the key metric, which is their salary or their hiring salary, let's say. And it gives them a very good way to value it because it's a bit hard to argue with, hey, I'm giving you 3 months. Okay, so what do you want? You want 6 months? You want 1 year? If you look about it, as a company that is worth 10 million euros, let's say, which is post very nice Series A in Europe, and someone comes in with a salary of 100,000, you give him 0.25%. Fair. You can push it up, you can push it down, but that should be the ratio, and it's kind of fair between everyone. What also happens is that as a company evolves and gets bigger, the percent of ownership of the company that you give away in options would decrease. So someone with 100,000 euro salary who joins at a company valuation of 10 million would get more than when the company is valued 40 million. So it's also fair in that of giving better value for early adopters, let's say. Of course, options should be over 4 years as usual, and of course, for senior positions such as country manager, C-level, etc., it's a separate negotiation, which is a bit disconnected from this discussion. Same thing also for very early team members, so first 10, first 20, the rules might be a bit different. The other part of compensation, before we go to the question phase of discussion, is about how to compensate salespeople. Personally, I believe that variable pay should be kept either for senior executives, so let's say country manager, C-level, etc., and salespeople of all levels. Maybe sales support, kind of 50% sure on that one. And salespeople should be compensated something between 70% fixed and 30% variable, up to 60-40, more or less. The variable pay, you have to decide how you pay it according to how you fix the target, according to the sales rhythm of the company, whether it's annual, whether it's quarterly. And there is something that you have to be very careful, is to try to give targets that they can actually achieve or maybe a bit overachieve. It would be better to overpay a lot in one quarter and then you fix the targets in the next quarter, rather than to underpay and have someone getting paid 40% or zero and then they will leave the company even if they're a good salesperson. One of the tips that I can give on setting sales targets, try to set them according to the long-term company target or annual company target. Never ever set them according to the pipeline, because that's just painting the target where you know that they will end. And that's very frustrating because basically if you have a salesperson who has a big pipeline and therefore you give him a big target, he will get the same amount of money as a salesperson who does not have a big pipeline or hid his pipeline. And that's unfair and would create a lot of frustration in the team. That's it.
Okay, okay, this is cool. I'm quite amazed, to be honest, because you seem to have a very, very clear view about all this, and it's not that frequent, I have to say, and it seems that you really covered all the chain, and I guess that now in your activity, because you see tons of companies, so they are very early stage. How do you qualify the level, but from this hiring point of view? How do you qualify all the companies you see? Do they work well? Is it very low? Very low level? How do you see this?
It really depends on the experience of the entrepreneur and the style of the entrepreneur. I saw people who are just out of university and have a really strong vision about what kind of team they want to build and build a fantastic team. Obviously, I saw the same thing also with entrepreneurs with 20 years of experience and 3 companies behind them. And I saw exactly the opposite. I saw people who just hire out of the blue because they need the person, and they just hire the person with an okay CV who just came by, and so not surprisingly, that person either doesn't perform or leaves after a few months. So I saw all cases. On average, surprisingly, entrepreneurs are average. So there's everything.
Is it such a surprise? Because most entrepreneurs I've met, they work a lot with their brain, obviously, but also with their heart. But I don't see often a very structured process for something like this. It's really like, okay, I have a good fit. It looks okay. Okay, let's go and see what's going to happen.
Yeah. So, the upper crust of entrepreneurs, yes, you don't see a lot of them. Alchemix, where I was a CFO, is an example where all the founders had a very clear vision about how they want the company to be structured and how they want the team members to structure the company, which was, for me, really enlightening. So I learned a lot from someone who was 15 years younger than me.
Okay. There is one thing which goes with hiring people, is to sucking people, getting rid of them in case they're not good, which is also quite, and then it's different from one country to another, because there are places where it's quite easy to get rid of people who are not adequate in the company, and in places like France, for instance, we can say, it might be a little bit more difficult. So I guess that you had to experience this in your life, that to identify that there is something going wrong in the team with some people, and then to get rid of the people. Do you have some advices about this very special situation that any entrepreneur may face one day?
Yeah. The good way to do it is like taking off a band-aid. Just rip it off fast. Someone who's not performing really hurts the team. And you will start seeing very fast a decrease in performance from everyone. Either, well, for a few reasons, because they see that someone is not performing and they're still in the team, so they're saying, hey, why should I work? Maybe they see someone who is not performing and is getting the same amount of compensation or recognition as them, positively or negatively, and that's really depreciating for people. Or maybe the person is saying bad things about the company, about the management, and that's really bad. So The idea is whatever the process is, whether it's in France and it takes a few good months to get a person out, or whether it's in the US where you can say to someone goodbye. Start the process as soon as you think that there's a problem. And at the same time, start hiring the replacements, because this takes time. And the biggest decrease in a company's revenue, for example, is cases where you fire a bad salesperson, and it takes you 6 months to hire, wait for the person to come and onboard a new salesperson. And this 6 month gap is basically equal to keeping the bad salesperson for 2 years. So it sounds ridiculous, but basically, if you don't know how to fire and hire correctly and ramp up correctly, it's better to keep a bad salesperson than to fire them.
Yeah, this is an amazing number you've just given. There is a topic which is quite hot for people my age. So I'm 45, as you know, and I'm not 20-something. So it's about the different generations. We can read many articles about the X generation, Y generation, Z generation. People are looking for different kind of purpose in their work life. And so how do you see this? How do you cope with this when you hire people? And because the employees, depending on their age, might have completely different expectations. How do you build a team which is coherent and works pretty well together if people don't expect the same things?
First of all, you have to have people from all generations. And soon, I guess, we will call all of those the alphabet generation, because there will be something X next after the Z generation. So we're old-timers, we're alphabet. First, hire from all generations, and B, again, make sure that there is a team fit between everyone. You can find, if you have a team which has an old spirit and they like to talk about literature, you can find a 20-something-year-old which has the same team spirit. It all goes back to the team spirit. If you have a team which is very young, because it's young entrepreneurs and a young R&D team, you have to find people which are aligned to that spirit. So it's not that hard to find a 30-year-old something, 40-year-old something who like to snowboard or skate or surf or code or experience new adventures. And that would create a coherence in terms of team spirit. And once you have that, you bridge the gap, because you have common interest and common channels of communication that are outside the scope of work. It's very important.
Okay, get it. You talk and you deal with lots of investors, lots of venture capital funds, family offices, and all these people invest in startups, which most of them are very small, are still very small. Is it something that they study in the due diligence process about, is there a clear policy about hiring the type of people, the type of culture that the company wants to build or not? How does it work right now? What's the point of view of VCs and investors about this? VCs check, most VCs, again, it's always a bit generalizing. VCs certainly check whether the entrepreneurs, so the co-founders, work well together. Because if they don't work well together, there will be a problem. One of them would leave. It would be a big crisis for the company. They check that the rest of the team is competent, whether there is a philosophy about how to hire a team, how to retain the team, which is a bit more comprehensive. It's usually not checked. It's something that is, as you said, it's rare, and people don't expect to have it. If they have it, it's a very nice upside. It shows that the founders plan for the future and think beyond short term.
which is very good. It's not a requirement.
When a company grows, I had this experience myself. I was in a company where 5 and we grew to 80 people in 2 years, which was quite big. And actually the structuration was something very difficult. Hiring people were okay, but defining what was the right organization was maybe something more difficult. How do you, what's the role? I guess for me it's the CEO role to have an idea about all this. Do you know, how do people do this? Because it's very difficult. For me, it's probably one of the most difficult things to do to assess the right structure of the company.
Yeah, it's very hard. It starts with the geographical structure. So let's talk about short distance and long distance geography. Long distance geography is when you have a few offices, whether they're in different cities in the same country or whether they're across the globe. And you have to manage your company's culture with very dispersed locations. There are a few ways to do that. First of all, make sure that people visit one another often. It costs, it's worth it. To the point where there are companies that put a camera with FaceTime open 24 hours a day in all cafeterias. So when you just walk by the coffee machine, you can say hi. If you're in the coffee machine in France, you can say hi to a colleague in New York, which is nice, as long as it's legal. You have to check it. Another way to do it is to try to hire locally and send out. So when you open a new office, make sure that the people who are first hired for the New York office start in the Paris headquarters, and then they absorb the company culture and they can foster the same kind of culture in New York. In Criteo, for example, when we had new employees, they would fly in to Paris from anywhere in the world for a week or two of orientation. So they would absorb the company culture. It's expensive. You can do it if you have nice margins. It's important. So it's very important to make sure that you have this kind of adherence. Short distance location or short distance geography is very important as well. How do you actually seat people? Okay, you organize teams. Yes, it's a headache. Probably you do it according to R&D, product, sales, marketing, G&A, etc. How do you seat people? My advice for startups: start with finding a location which is everyone is seated at the same floor. You cannot believe the amount of disconnect that you will get between teams when you have one team in floor 5 and one team in floor 6. They just stop talking to one another. And if you put R&D and sales in different floors, R&D and sales will stop talking to one another, which is really bad when you're developing products and want to stay tuned to the market. You can, if you are forced to work in 2 floors, try to shift people over time. So you can decide on a 1 day a week where people or 20% of the people are forced to randomly change, or you assign the seat to change. Or you can do either different mixes in order to ensure that people interact with people from other teams. It's very important. You can do after work drink sessions. You can do after work sport sessions. My personal favorite, in order to make sure that people from different parts of the company, from different teams, communicate with one another. It's very important.
Right now, there are, you visit lots of offices of companies, incubators, and so on. And right now, there is a real trend. It's been a while already, where you can find, for instance, ping pong tables and all this kind of stuff, so people can stop working and have fun playing. Okay, everyone, I see lots of people trying to copy all this right now without even thinking if it's good or not. What's your point of view about all this? Do you think that all companies should try to provide a ping pong table? I know it's not black or white, but does it have any sense for you, all this?
Yeah, it helps. When you're in a company that requires people to be creative, which is most positions in most companies, R&D people have to be creative, product people have to be creative, marketing, salespeople as well have to be creative, sure, managers have to be creative. You need to have time to relax, you need to have time to think, and it's important to provide a space or means to relax during work. Unless you're looking for someone to click yes, no for 10 hours, or do a Charlie Chaplin work of, just fixing a screw all the time, you need people to think. They would be much more productive.
So no more cubicles. No cubicles anymore, it's not okay. But it's fine for me, I hate them, I can understand.
Yeah, the only thing maybe I would say, I'm for open space. Just make sure you put some sort of sound absorption mattresses, small things in order to absorb the noise. Otherwise, it becomes very noisy. Another thing that you can do if you're talking now about office design is to create phone booths, which is basically very small meeting rooms where you can just go with your phone, have a conversation, and not annoy everyone. It takes very small space. It's basically 1 square meter. You put 5 of those, it decreases the level of noise in your office space quite dramatically.
Now there is a big trend as well about remote working. It's been a while already. And now it's become even a lifestyle. It's possible now for someone working remotely to travel all the time and never be at the office. In your experience, is it something which is sustainable in the startup? People working like this, spending all the time abroad or far away?
It really does not work at all. In a startup environment, you have to interact all the time with colleagues either from your team or from other teams. You have to be inspired and have brainstorming sessions with total other departments and people from other departments. So for me, it's very hard to work remotely. You can work remotely if, for example, you're outsourcing or you have someone working remotely and doing a specific part of code, which is technical work and low level. Or very niche, and they really do not have to interact with a lot of people. It's not the case for 90–95% of the team members in a startup. It just doesn't work. It's also, the intensity of work is so hard that if you don't see the other people, it's very hard to find the motivation to push yourself as hard in a social environment in a home environment versus a startup social environment. Large companies, it can work. Startups, no.
In your daily activities, when you see a startup now from an HR point of view and all this, what are you looking at? What are the good signs for you, and what are the red flags that you automatically identify and that you don't want to see, meaning that you're not going to work with these people?
Well, the HR aspect is always just one part of a whole lot of criteria that are in place, or that I have in place in order to decide whether I want to work with a startup or not. Let's say the easiest test that I have, it's called the beer test. Is the person in front of me someone that I would like to have a drink with? It can also be a soft drink, it doesn't have to be beer. That's very important. So do I think that this environment is have people who would like to interact with one another outside of the workspace. So either a vibe. It doesn't actually have to happen. You just have to see that people have this fit, and if there's a bad vibe, or you see that people are really stressed at the workspace, and you can see that from the way people talk, from the email, from everything, it's a very bad sign about where the startup is going. Because a startup has its ups, it has its downs. Always, there is no single startup in the world, probably, which just had only positive news and was never on the brink of disaster. So if you are not with people which you are comfortable with, there'll probably be some serious explosions when things go bad. And it can be at the founder's level, and it can be at the level of the analysts, most junior people. So you have to check.
Okay.
One thing about that, if you want to invest in a startup, go to drink with the entire team. That's the best way to fill them out. Join their day of activities. See that they have day of activities.
You were working before for Criteo, then for Alchemix. Now you work for Chausson Finance. So you were hired. How was the process for you, and what were the reasons why what was okay in the hiring process so you decide to work with them? If it's not too personal as a question.
It is. I'll answer. First of all, I was not hired. I'm a partner. So
I'm sorry. Big mistake.
So how I was hired, I cannot ask. Why I decided to join? For two reasons. I knew already Christophe Chausson, the founding partner, because Chausson Finance helped Alchemix, where I was a CFO, to raise funds. So I knew him. I knew Marie as well. I talked to who was the lead on Alchemix fundraising, so I worked with her closely. And I talked with the rest of the team. I really liked everyone and the atmosphere here. The thing that I liked most during my career were fundraising. I really liked the excitement, and fundraising advisory has a mix of finance, PR, marketing strategy, sales, and you share the purest moments of joy and despair in the life of an entrepreneur. Plus, I love new technology, so I get to meet 10 plus startups a week. It's really awesome. So it's both something that I thought I can add value, and a place where I like the team, and it's also a personal passion for me. So it was a fantastic fit in all categories.
Okay, so we are coming close to the end of this show. Before I leave, before Sabrine tell us, wrap all this up and tell us what now the next session, I ask you, like for all the guests, to select a music about startups and your view of entrepreneurship. And you selected Under Pressure by Queen and David Bowie. Is there a reason for this? What's the story behind this?
Well, when you are raising funds, you're constantly under pressure for 6 months until the deal is closed. So it hits the spot in that sense. Plus, I'm the kid of the 80s, so Queen and David Bowie. Plus rock music.
Okay, this is very cool. So Eyal, thank you very much for your time you spent with us. Sabrine, was it okay for you? What did you think? Did you learn many things?
Yes, actually, I would like to thank you very much, Eyal. Yes, I learned a few things. I'm still wondering why here in France we are a bit late, in how organizing hiring and design also, inside the company. it seems that we are always a little bit late compared to Scandinavians or Americans. It's just a bit weird, but what you said was very, very interesting. Thank you very much. Thank you also for the attendees of this show. Thank you to GIlles Guennec once again, for supporting and organizing, this Radio Entrepreneurship by Alumni. And thanks to the INSEAD Center for Entrepreneurship too. And as you said, GIlles, next week we will welcome Kamal Hassan, if I'm not wrong, and he will talk about crowdfunding.
Exactly, some tips about fundraising in very early stage. So we're not really talking about investment fund. It's really about the 3 F's: fools, families, and friends. How to make sure it goes smooth and well. This is my understanding of the topic, but we'll know more next week.
Okay, great. So once again, thank you everyone, and we are looking forward to welcoming you again.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.